Oh my gosh, E3 this year was totally amazing. There's Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed Unity, Destiny, and most of all, the best game they showed off there, Halo the Master Chief Collection. Halos 1 and 2 remade, Halo 3 and 4, all DLC maps, Halo Nightfall, $60. That's ridiculous. That's 4 games plus more in one for the price of one game. That's just ridiculous. And I don't care if you're not a Halo fan, if you don't get that, you're missing out on a great deal. You owe it to yourself as a gamer to get this game. And then there's things like Sunset Overdrive, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And then there's Advanced Warfare, which honestly looks terrible. Everyone's saying it's revolutionary and stuff. I was hyped for it, but not so much anymore. Because honestly, how much do you think is really going to change? Everyone's saying it's ambitious and it's different like they did for Ghosts, but how different do you really think it's going to be? It's Call of Duty. If you like Call of Duty, cool, but this game doesn't look all that impressive. You could use the excuse that for Call of Duty, it's a really big improvement. True, but you shouldn't be able to say for this game, by this game's standards, when the game you're talking about is the best-selling in its genre. The best-selling game in its genre should beat out all the other games' expectations, all the other games' standards, if it wants to keep its top spot. Call of Duty doesn't even come close, and somehow it's still on top, and I really don't understand. Then, of course, there's GTA 5 being released the next gen, which is awesome. The game looks beautiful. There is the reskin, the retexture, whatever you want to call it, of The Last of Us, which is amazing. I don't have a PlayStation, but I've played The Last of Us before, and it is a great, great game. If you have a PlayStation, play it now, please. It's a must-own. They also said that the sequel to Titanfall is no longer going to be an Xbox exclusive, so yay, PlayStation guys, you get to play Titanfall. And as I already mentioned, there's Assassin's Creed Unity, and they released some gameplay, and it actually looks really, really good. I think Ubisoft knew that people were upset about Black Flag because it was more of a pirate game, and it didn't feel like an Assassin's game, so now they're doing Unity, which is in the French Revolution, which I love, because I love that time period. And it reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed 2, and like the layout of everything, and how it's going to be like running from roof to roof, rather than just sailing or running through the streets the entire time, because roof to roof isn't very efficient. It's going to be a lot like Assassin's Creed 2, which I like a heck of a lot. Then there's Evolve, which I don't know a lot about, but it looks really good. I know they showed some extra gameplay and released some information, so that's cool. Then there's a new Fable, which looks great, but I'm not really a big Fable guy. I'll definitely be picking this one up, though. And then there's a new Crackdown. Why is everyone so excited? That game is terrible. Someone explain, please. Then there was, of course, the Nintendo Digital event, which was pretty cool. They announced a lot of Smash Brothers stuff, including the fact that you can make your Mii a fighter, which I've been waiting for. I'm just saying, that's pretty cool. But I won't be able to play it because I don't have a Wii U. And then the worst part of E3, they announced and showed off a new Zelda game. That part's great. I can't play it because I don't have the console. And now for the second worst part of E3. Battlefield Hardline. Thank you for the wait. So yeah, they announced Battlefield Hardline. It was actually announced a couple days beforehand in a trailer, and from the start, I was just looking at it like, this is gonna be total crap. In the trailers, even in the cinematic trailers, it looks worse than just normal Battlefield 4. It was released only a year later. They're just trying to compete with Call of Duty by releasing something this soon. It wasn't even like a Battlefield game. The only reason it was like a Battlefield game was probably because of the classes and because it was made by the same company. Oh, wait, no it wasn't. It was made by Visceral. Why don't you just call it Hardline? This isn't Battlefield. I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're ruining the franchise. No, I'm not that ignorant. I'm not going to act like it's going to be that big of a deal. I'm just saying, why act like it's a Battlefield game? Make it an entirely new series and make Visceral be dedicated to making it rather than having to fit it in and spend funding from Battlefield on a game that not as many people are excited about. But here's the kicker. They also announced a beta that was released right then. I managed to get in just yesterday, downloaded it this morning. Today is the 13th now. Oh gosh, there's so much wrong with it. Not just in the sense that, oh, it's a beta, so here's all the things wrong with it. No, in just the gameplay itself. First, there's the stuff that's wrong with the beta. For one, it runs like crap. To put things into perspective, I can run Battlefield 3 on Ultra over 60 frames per second. I could run the Battlefield 4 beta on Ultra over 60 frames per second. I can't even run this game on low without dropping under 30 frames per second 90% of the time. And don't you even try saying that's my computer, because everyone else is having the same problem, and that's honestly not okay, because the game looks worse than Battlefield 4. The maps are smaller than Battlefield 4, there are less vehicles in than Battlefield 4, so why does it take so much more to run, and why is it that something that shouldn't take so much to run lags so bad when you have a computer that's more than good enough? Not only is the constant frame rate bad, but even for the people with the God PCs that can still run it on high at 60 frames per second, it stutters. Like, every several seconds or so, it just freezes for several frames and then keeps going. I know that's not a lot, but when you're actually playing and you're in the moment, that makes a really, really big difference and kind of takes you out of the experience. And now stuff that's wrong with the game itself, the mechanics, the gameplay, stuff like that. First of all, the classes don't mean crap. Sure, they all have their normal stuff. The engineer, the mechanic as it's called now, has his repair tool and that kind of stuff. The assault class has its medic kit, the support class has its ammo pack. The sniper class has its sniper stuff, which seems to change every game. I haven't really messed around with that too much. Sure, they all have their equipment, but you never use it. And here's why. Because the entire game, you don't stop and you don't get pinned down in an area because of the game modes. There's no normal conquest. Sure, there may be in the final game. Don't hold me to this. But in Heist and Blood Money, generally there's only one objective and everyone is fighting in 1 to 3 areas. There are just like 1 to 3 choke points throughout the entire map. Because if you see somebody outside of those areas where you grab the money or grab the objective or whatever it is you're doing, then there's no use in shooting them because it doesn't really help your team. You don't really level up a lot because there's a really weird money progression system thing. So that means you're only fighting in these key points. And when there's that many people in an area fighting at once, you don't call for a medic and go behind cover. No, you either die or you kill someone. Not like your life is all that important anyway. Most of the time, it's just one person who needs to carry the objective, or one person who carries a lot of money and blood money. And blood money is a lot better than Heist, by the way, in my personal experience. But what you're doing anyway, in this huge, huge firefight, it's kind of a gamble to run out into the middle of everything, hold X for like 15 to 30 seconds to grab a couple $100,000, and get all the way back to your base without dying. It's probably not going to happen in that life. The chances are extremely slim, so, you know, I'm not really that hesitant when playing to run out into the middle of the open and try to kill everyone, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm just going to be running back to the exact same place anyway. Maybe if there was a second or third safe or pile of money or whatever the heck it is, then the game would focus a little bit more on map control, and it would be a bit more controlled just overall, because the way it is now, you're just kind of willy-nilly shooting into the middle of the map, grabbing some money and running back, and it's extremely tedious. And the gunplay is awful. The snipers are almost completely useless. I mean, sure, you can rack up some kills, which is nice, but in these game modes, kills don't really affect anything. You kill somebody with a purpose. You know, you kill somebody so they don't get to the objective. And that's why, another reason why you don't kill somebody outside of that middle area. And that middle area is so tight, and it's inside of a building, and it's near all these corners, that just using a sniper isn't really viable. The only time using a sniper is viable is when you're working as a team, which is very rare because nobody's in the chat. They're all talking about the game itself, not about playing it, if you know what I'm saying. They're talking about, oh, how do you like the game? Oh, how are the graphics? Blah, blah, blah. They're not talking about strategy or anything. There's only 1 or 2 people who mention something, but nobody listens to them. But as I was saying, the only time I can see it being viable is when you're working as a team. There are 2 snipers on a roof, like protecting the area outside of the place where you grab all the money. letting the people run in, notifying them when enemies are coming, letting them grab all the money, and then just go out and working as a team. But that's not how it works. Generally, everyone just kind of separates off, and everyone's doing these little individual attempts to grab a bunch of money for the game mode and try and win the game single-handedly. And honestly, it works. That's all you can do, and it's so boring. The gunplay itself is awful. The recoil patterns are a lot different and hard to get used to. I'm not complaining about that. It's a change. It's good. It'll freshen things up when the game actually comes out. I'm probably not going to be getting it by the way, so that doesn't really affect me. But the gunplay is just awful. You know, you don't really get a lot of hit markers. You just kind of shoot at the enemy, and eventually they just sort of drop dead. If you see an enemy, you don't really see him shooting at you and start taking damage and run for cover. You just kind of die. Or they just kind of die. It's really weird, and I don't like it. I'm being negative and pessimistic. Let's just talk about Halo. I like Halo. There's a lot of Halo in E3. Halo Master Chief Collection, 2 remade games, 2 of the newer games, all DLC, 60 frames per second, 1080p, $60, Halo Nightfall. Oh my gosh, it's like a gamer's wet dream. And I almost forgot, it comes with a Halo 5 beta, which is coming this December, so yay! Yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to end on a good note. Okay, bye. Have a great time.